Whether you're a seasoned vet of the payments industry or a brand new rookie who just heard the term dual pricing for the first time, you're in the right place. This is the only podcast that shares the strategies and stories behind selling merchant services, all from the perspective of those on the front lines. Welcome to AgentFirst.
All right, welcome to the AgentFirst Podcast. I'm joined here. I'm Nini Volrath, founder and CEO of PayCompass. I'm joined here by my beautiful wife of 28 years, Nini Volrath, and my good friend and agent of PayCompass, Nick Goeman, who is sometimes in Arizona and sometimes a South Dakotan.
Depending on the weather.
Sometimes in Omaha. Omaha, Iowan.
Nebraskan. As long as look, though, I'm not a Nebraska fan. I don't live in that fairy tale world, so I just want to be very clear on that.
Yes, you're wearing Iowa Hawkeye colors, so
yep.
You're good.
Well,
man.
I don't think we get a choice on that.
Yeah, you don't.
That was planned.
That is true.
Steelers colors.
That's right here, baby. That's right. You got it. So this is part two. We're gonna kind of pick up where we left off. There was so much to cover that we had to kind of cut it in half a little bit, but kind of hand off to you, brother.
Yeah, there's a couple of things you touched on that I want to not necessarily circle back on, but just kind of get your thoughts and opinions more on. I didn't mean to call you a moron. More so, I apologize.
I love it.
Going back to kind of scaling this and how fast it's scaled, something I think is really interesting that we do that's different than some of the bigger ISOs is the technology and the innovations and how we've utilized that to scale this business so quickly.
Right.
So I think talking about kind of some of our partnerships and, kind of how you've not only used those, but we've become friends with a lot of these people at the conferences as well.
Yes.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've said for a long time, this industry, like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel here. There is a lot of amazing products out there. And I think that's one of the things that's really unique about our industry is that, you don't see, Sony out there reselling Samsung products, right? They're going to develop their own, you don't see Ford reselling, GM products. But in the payments industry, there is a lot of us, we're utilizing other companies' products because there's some amazing innovation and products out there and services in our industry. There's no reason for us to go build our own unless absolutely necessary.
Right.
And we've had to in some places, but when you start talking about like, our partnership on the processing platforms, whether it be, TSYS or First Data or high risk, partnerships, there's some amazing platforms, amazing tools out there. When we start talking about, really specific technology, we work a lot with Valor and Deja Vu. We've had actually, Deja Vu on this podcast before. Larry joined us, and they really have become good friends. Yeah. Larry's a fun guy's a party, and you realize like how much their experience and their knowledge brings to the table, but what's really awesome is how much they lean upon us for insight as well. Like, hey, here's some products, try it out, give us feedback on it as well.
Yeah.
So it's
really
a
true feedback. It's not, hey, make this shit work.
Right.
We want your opinion.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really become a really, you go to these trade shows and it's hard to understand if you've really gone to our trade shows. Like, we're hanging out with competitors. We're hanging out with people that should be deemed our competitors. We should be friends with. We're hanging out with them at the bar. We're hanging out with our, vendor people that are maybe working for somewhere that we're not going to work with right now, but you never know, that person might move over to here. It's this industry is, I always say it's like the mafia. You never leave this industry. Once you're in, it just brings you in and you ain't leaving.
Very true.
And, people move from this company to this company and now, suddenly I'm working with this person. So, there is such a deep interconnectedness here that there's
very niche industry
and an amazing products out there. Some really brilliant people doing some really cool things. But there's only been a little bit of things that we've had to say, hey, we're going to have to build that ourselves. And one of them being Navigo, our boarding tool that's going to turn into, way more. It already has turned into way more than just that. But we felt the necessity to build that because we want to have full customization on that. So our software developers are building that out. But outside of that, it's really been that ability to rely upon so many other vendors and companies out there. I mean, you see it as well, babe. Like
for sure.
the friendships we have with all these
Definitely.
people, right? You know?
And even going from the first show and not knowing a lot of things and meeting a lot of people and even they're in other, like other vendors, right? But they'll help us like, hey, I can't help you, but I've got this guy that I know that I worked with before at this company, because they move around, and we've met a lot of friends and they've helped us a lot too. And we learned a lot from a lot of people too.
Yeah. And I'll get regular calls from somebody who says, hey, I'm running an ISO, which, technically I should be like, oh, you're my competitor.
Yeah.
But they're like, so-and-so from this company gave me your name and said, you'd probably have some insight on this. And I'm more than happy to help anyone. I the rising tides floats all boats, right? Let's there is an opportunity here. There's a lot of bad people in our industry. I'm not going to say everybody's great. There's some people that are really out there trying to take advantage of people. But if we can help support all the great ones out there, then let's have that good noise, really outshine the bad noise.
I always tell people, I call this industry almost the ocean. Yeah. There's big fish, small fish. Then there's the shark.
Yeah.
And as long as you stay away from the sharks, everybody can get along.
That's
true. And that's a weird analogy, but that's the way I look at it. It's something that definitely as you get, more seasoned in this, who to avoid and who to stay away from.
Right.
And
on that point, I mean, when you look at there are hundreds of companies out there doing what we do, I mean, in terms of being an ISO, right? Mm-hmm. If not thousands. And we're all utilizing the same products for the most part. Mm-hmm. There's only a handful of processing platforms. Talk about TSYS, First Data, Elevon, there's only a handful of those. And there's only a handful of less than 10 different terminal manufacturers and point of sale companies. There's more than that, but we're all basically selling the same. We're all providing the same products, the same end game of, hey, here's the sponsor banks and here's the platforms. There's only so many of them that the differentiator is not the product itself, but the support that goes behind that product and around that product that differentiates, one company from another one.
Yeah. Staying on that support topic there, and you kind of talked about it and you said Navigo, and that's something I'm not sure if we're going to talk about in a later episode, but that could be something very unique to what we're trying to do as a company. But what major shifts, Navigo maybe being one of them, but have we seen with the customer service and the agent support that's changed since 5 years ago? What's something, kind of the unique major shifts that you would, I guess, see?
And Nini can definitely back me up on this. I am not the most organized person, right? So, and I tend to be very like just shoot from the hip kind of guy, like, hey, we're just going to figure it out as we go sort of thing. And as we grew and we brought in, more and more leaders, guys like Rob that, really have helped create some structure around that. It's helped us to grow and serve people better. And, I remember when Rob first came in and we started talking about doing a ticketing system. I was like, a ticketing system?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Which is probably the most used daily thing now. Yeah.
Our company wouldn't run without it now, right? Yes. And to me, I was like, our ticketing system is your email inbox, dude. Just look at your email inbox and you're fine. But that ticket system has become critical for all aspects of our company now. And we're looking to maybe expand into other teams as well. And then, you fast forward to things like Navigo, or now we're using NetSuite and all these different solutions that have come into play to be that organizational aspect that we're not even probably using to its fullest extent, right?
Yeah.
But once you start creating the system, I've said many times that like the first 2 to 3 years of PayCompass was about building that foundation, right? It was about the foundation. We get that foundation down. We get the structure of the system in place.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Then it's just now, how do we grow on top of that? Now you can build that skyscraper on top of that because the foundation's in place.
Right.
That's what that first 2-3 years was about. Putting the systems in place. Now we're getting better. We're learning. We're adapting. We're changing things every day, every week. Yeah. But those core foundational things stay the same, and you just learn how to better utilize those products and systems. So, are you going to correct me that I'm actually super organized? Right?
You are not. You're going to straighten me out.
Like
I found out yesterday I was supposed to be here today. So that's how it works.
Yeah.
But I think even sales support, Bree and Angie.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh my
that was
gosh.
huge.
Massive.
And it helps our agent. I mean,
Yeah.
it helps you guys out a lot when you call and say, hey, can you?
Well,
Or
Well,
them
and
helping you
just
with
just the small things, I think too. Like, hey, I mean, just the other day, I was in a rush doing some paperwork. Not that I'm admitting this, but I am. And I flip-flopped the DBA and the business address, and was a little annoyed with why they're questioning it. And she's like, "Well, Nick, there's no Google location." I'm like, "Well, what do you mean? I've got it on here." She sent me a screenshot, and I go, "Oh, all right, my bad." Like just things like that, staying organized
instead of it getting pented.
Right.
Yeah. That's a little thing that's like, and you don't realize the power of that. I mean, you think like, oh, it's going to be really helpful. Is the sales coordination team. And that started with Jeannie. And I remember when we first brought on Jeannie thinking like, oh, do we have enough for her? And then she was overrun so quickly. And then
I keep her busy.
And then
Yes.
Bree and then Angie,
Yes.
and then we're going to hire more. It was that I remember there's many people I've talked to who said, well, they just slow down. Aren't they just going to slow down the process? Because let me just talk to the underwriters. I'm just going to send them the deals and they go straight to the underwriters.
Yeah.
But the sales coordinators find mistakes before it goes to the underwriters and becomes a bigger issue, right? And I didn't really fully understand that when we started that team. That wasn't really a target, but we quickly realized the huge benefit of that because like your deal, if that had gone to the underwriter,
it sat there for 3 days.
Then sits there and the underwriter pens it, and then you got to go get initials on it and get it changed. Or sales coordinators can correct that stuff ahead of time and avoid the
easy mistake.
Simple stuff like that.
It's definitely an interesting concept to think about, because I think some people are going to hear this and think almost, well, there's a middleman or a middle woman or whatever you want to look at it. But something that is the reason that's so important is because that continues the growth.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So something I think is a good question for you here, and I'd like your answer as well, is what are some late night tough decisions you've had to make for this company that have kept you up? Nothing too crazy, but
I can say actually our office, us trying to figure out going from a 1,700 square foot office to see because when you sign that contract, it's normally 3 or 5 years or 7, whatever, however many years.
Locked in.
You're locked in and we have to look ahead. And I thought, oh my gosh, how big are we really going to go? How big?
Right.
And we went to a really big office and we thought, it's going to be years before we fill this.
Yeah.
And holy cow, in a year.
Now we sat down with our broker the other day and talking about how do we take over more space in our office, in our building. It's you're exactly right.
Yeah.
How many offices are, I haven't counted, but how many are actually offices plus the cubicles?
Yeah. There are 65 seats in that office now. And we're looking forward. I mean, you look at, now, you start re-signing an agreement, a lease for another 3-5 years. You got to think about what does 3 years look like? What does 5 years look like? Right. But you got to think about that. So how do you plan ahead and not overpay too much, now, but know that you don't want to be moving offices every few years or moving people some other place or something like that. And
the garage. We don't need more garage.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Well, our situation right before we moved, we had 2 hires that there was no office. They sat in the conference room, and when we had a conference, they kind of had to switch with whoever was in the conference room. So you'd
go into the conference room, they come sit at your desk, and then they'd go back and flip-flop around.
But luckily, it was only for a couple months.
That office was a crazy situation. But it, for me, Nick, I think the other part of it has been, financially, you got to remember is that, we've taken, there's no outside investors. It's me and Nini and credit cards and personal loans and things like that to fund all this. And that decision and late nights of tears and holding each other's hands and saying, hey, we're going to figure this out, we're going to make this happen. There's been some tough decisions that had to be made financially, of things we had to sacrifice to make sure we could get to that next step, but making sure that we weren't being so conservative that it was going to put a stranglehold on the business and not allow it to grow. Because if we've got to pay people, we've got to pay people well, we've got to get ahead of that growth, and you got to have faith that growth is going to happen. Hey, we're gonna hire somebody today because we don't necessarily fully need them today, but we're going to fully need them 3 months
weeks,
out.
3 months.
Yeah.
It could be,
Right. So let's get them on. Let's get things going to get ahead of it. And you really feel that when somebody's out, they're sick. On the sales coordination team, when one of those gals is out sick, Chris is cussing at me like, we need more guys,
right?
More people.
But I feel like that's every department.
That's
honestly.
true. It is. Finance here feels it too. Everybody feels it for sure. Yeah.
What, kind of going off that topic again, I guess something that I find very interesting that I guess doesn't get talked about a whole lot, especially in this industry, is how much turnover there is, not just from inside the office, but sales. How going forward and kind of in the past, how are you using that strong company culture, one, to keep people, to continue growth and keep it all normalized the best you can?
It's funny because I think people think like there's some sort of a, strategy or something we've written down as like, oh, we're going to do these things. But honestly, it's just treating everybody else like we'd want to be treated. I mean, everyone is family to us. It's, I want the best for everybody. And if PayCompass is not the best for you, then I want you to go do what is the best for you.
Right.
But we just don't take ourselves too seriously. No. Like, we have dogs running around our office, for Christ's sake. Sometimes they pee and poop on the floor, and that's okay.
There's a shampooer for a reason.
At
the office.
We have the family lunches that we all get together and eat together, and we joke around. Everybody's having fun. People are hanging around together outside the office. We've got a ping pong table and just fun stuff around there, and TV's going with Bob Ross on there or Fail Army or something like that. I mean, like, it's just not taking ourselves too seriously.
March Madness.
Fun. March Madness or going to football games together, or we all went to
talk about that.
Savannah Bananas game all together, and just trying to do fun things, and so, but not because there's some sort of a strategy behind it, but just because it's like, I just really enjoy these people. I love these people. And then that catapults into how the agents feel. You have, happy employees, everybody's having fun. They're doing whatever they can to take care of the agents as well. The agents feel the same way. And sometimes you're not going to keep every agent, right? And you're not going to keep every employee. It's not going to happen every time. And if we're not the right fit for them, we're not the right fit. But what I've seen happen a lot is, we suddenly see a downturn in somebody's sales. They go away for a while. You stay in touch with them. And then next thing you know, you start seeing that name come back as, the grass wasn't quite greener over there. And that's cool.
We're always steady for them.
We'll always be here. We'll always be for you, no matter what.
Nini, how do you, kind of going off that same topic of people coming and going, as you've kind of met the wives of agents or significant others or whoever it is, how do you explain this lifestyle we have?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Of crazy,
oh my gosh,
always on the phone, but not really in an office, but kind of in an office. How do you help people work through that or explain it to them so that they understand it? Because it's got to look like absolute madness at some point.
Yeah, I guess. I think honestly, by the time I meet them, they're experienced agents, right?
Yeah.
And so, I guess more than anything, we relate together. We laugh about the craziness that we, or as they're getting started, I can tell them, be prepared for this or get ready for this, because it's going to happen to you guys, because, your husband works hard.
The 10:30 phone calls are unavoidable.
Or this might happen, and, they might need to take a break from the ballet, to go do an emergency call or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
what advice would you give? That's a kind of a, so let's say somebody is brand new getting in the industry and they're, the spouse is asking you like, hey, well, how do you deal with this? Or what things should I be prepared for?
How do I get patience to deal with this? I think that's the best question.
No, that's a really hard question.
Right. I've always said, I feel like that is one of the most important aspects of the success of a successful salesperson or industry. And I think any, 100% commission industry where there's no defined hours is that support of the spouse or, the girlfriend, boyfriend at home, whoever that significant other is. Because, I remember, talking this through with people in the past many times is, you come home and people are wired this way where I worked a full day, I'm going to get a paycheck for that full day. But when you're 100% commission sales, that's not necessarily true, right? You work your tail off for a whole week and maybe there was no success. And And the spouse is like, well, I thought you got a job. And you're like, well, I
Right.
did, but like, I got to sell something. I've got, 2 or 3 really close. And like, this is a scam. You're getting scammed, and having the fortitude to overcome that, I think.
I think you're right. And I do think that telling them that, just support them, support whoever it is, whoever your partner is, support them, because it will come back. I mean, if you support them, then it'll encourage them to have that confidence in themselves and have the trust in themselves, to give them that chance to go out and try to make it work out. It's not, if you're getting started, it's not a 1 month, a 2 month, it might be more of a, if he's that person or, him or her are working hard, it's going to be a 3, probably 4 month, before you really see.
If you're really out,
if you're out there pulling doors for sure.
To your point too, I mean, there's a lot of work that goes, I think, especially in sales, but especially in our industry, is the unforeseen work, is the behind the scenes, like something I've struggled with is like, so everybody thinks at 5:30, they're done. I'm like, that's not how this works. You didn't sign up for that. And that's not how I work. If I'm, I've taken phone calls at 7:30, 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. My buddies are, giving me shit because I have to get up and go outside. I'm like, it's just part of the game. It's just what you have to do. But from a partner standpoint, I think that's really valuable to, one, understand it, two, recognize it and talk about it.
But I think also a blessing about this industry is you make your own hours.
Yes.
So, if you don't want to get up until 9 and you work from 9 till 8 instead, or whatever you choose, or you want to get up, you're an early person, you're going to get up early and, hustle and then take your lunch break and go play golf for a little bit and then start back up at 4. That's the
your prerogative.
blessing about this.
That'd be like Rob's like perfect. He would love.
We're gonna have to find Rob an assistant
every afternoon.
Yeah.
Like that.
He's gonna play 9 holes every afternoon, and that's his mental break.
I remember, Nini and I have been together since she was 14 and I was 16. And I remember, she grew up with a traditional family of dad went to work at a certain time and he was at home at exactly 5:18 every night or whatever. You knew exactly the time he was going to pull in. And I remember, I grew up in a entrepreneurial family, was part of a family-owned business. And I remember the early questions of, what time do you get off tonight? And I was like, I don't know. Like, well, what do you mean you don't know? Like it was just whenever the work gets done, we get done. It might be, might be 5:30, it might be 10 o'clock at night. Just like we have things we got to do.
Especially the later and the more you get into this industry, the time gets even more unstable.
Right. Yeah. And so I think, it took her a little while to get used to that. But now it's been part of her life for so long that I think sometimes you forget that
this isn't
people
normal.
adapt to that. That's definitely not normal, right?
Not
For sure.
Well, let's talk about kind of people that are just getting into this, because I think that's I'd say kind of a breath of fresh air to have, hey, I'm going to start this new career path.
Yeah.
I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I want to be in this industry. This industry is extremely cutthroat. If you don't know, and you've been in this industry, I'm jealous because I've had to deal with it. You've had to deal with it. But what would you give as some of the biggest pieces of advice on getting into an industry in this fintech or this sales, that you are on your own to a certain extent. It's you drive the nail how hard and fast you want.
Right.
That's true.
My advice to be is find a company, a leader, somebody that is going to be a mentor. Don't, pay attention to the details and find that mentor that is going to invest in you. And listen to them like with no judgment for the first 90 days. Just like, hey, do it their way for the first 90 days. And then just become such a big student of the game and of this industry that you just start learning. I believe strongly that the biggest skill set or biggest trait you have to survive in this or any 100% commission sales role is just literally perseverance. I'm going to show up every day and I'm going to keep trying. And eventually that grit is going to allow me to overcome those downfalls.
You got to be able to take no.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to take it without it being personal.
Right.
It's not.
Yeah. In
most of the time.
My 15 plus years of being in this, I've trained hundreds of salespeople personally, been out in the car with hundreds of salespeople, help them, cold call, door knock, run appointments. And the ones that made it versus the ones that didn't, it was that unidentifiable, just fire in the belly, the passion for it, and the ability to say like, hey, I'm going to keep showing up every day, no matter what. I know it's going to be hard, but every day it's a little easier and a little easier and a little easier. 99% is that. It's like that, cartoon you've seen where the guy's like, digging for gold and he gives up right before he achieves it. That's what I see so many times in this industry for new people, is that concept of, hey, this is getting really hard, and they stop too early. Like give it some time. And I know it's easier said than done. It's not for everyone, but really when you just keep going, keep showing up every day, there's such a huge opportunity. So, and I think that's a great topic we can talk about more in future podcasts. Is just like the advice for new people get in this industry, because it's a huge opportunity. And I really think like today is the good old days that we're going to talk about for many years. We're going to go and wrap it up. Thanks for joining us today for another great AgentFirst podcast. We'll see you next time.